Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new live stream. Today is Sunday, August 20th, and we have a great show planned tonight because we have a decent amount to talk about once again. And we're going to be talking about Donald Trump and his decision not to debate being his debate strategy. Did Donald Trump listen to me? Did he listen to some other like-minded people on what to do? Because it seems like that's exactly what he's done. We're going to be talking about that. Also, Ron DeSantis, is he going full Hillary Clinton? Is he going full basket of deplorables mode? That's not something that's ideal. These people, we're going to analyze some of the latest slander on Donald Trump and on Donald Trump supporters from these people. Also, we'll be talking a little bit in our This Day in Stupidity section about Elon Musk deciding to remove the block button from Twitter, kind of in the midst of a potential, change that's positive. Twitter, you talk about it being a little bit more open than it was before, and the fact that we might be turning a corner culturally speaking, but this is not exactly something that's ideal. We're going to be talking about all of that and more. Also, you guys are welcome to send in super chats as well because, that's what keeps the lights on here. It's what keeps the show going, and we love to get to the people. We love to get to your questions, as I'm sure you guys have a lot to say, especially with the debate coming up and the Trump Forum coming up in 3 days. I want to actually do this. I want to put a poll out. Which are you looking more forward to? And I think this is more important because it tells me where the audience is in terms of what's happening this week, this Wednesday. Because you have people that say, I want Trump to debate, even if people like Donald Trump. And then you have people that say, I don't care what the JV squad has to say. I'm going to watch Trump on Tucker. And I understand why people would prefer to watch one or the other, regardless of where they exactly lie on the whole primary. Most of you guys are in the Trump camp, although we have a rising amount of people, according to the community tab, that are pro-Ramaswamy. A lot of them, I believe, will come back to Trump once Trump gets the nomination, because I don't believe that Vivek really has that much of a chance. But nevertheless, which one are you looking more forward to? We're going to ask to the people. And it's going to be the debate or Trump on Tucker. And this is not a question I'm asking leading. I'm just trying to see what the people have to say. And we're going to cover both. We're going to do a stream after both. I'm going to probably watch both of them. But what are people looking more forward to? Do they want to watch the debate? Or would they rather watch Trump on Tucker? Because that's basically Trump debating while simultaneously saying, screw you, Fox, especially with the fact that he's with the guy that carried Fox during the Trump presidency and up until this year before Fox decided to let him go over some liberal nonsense. So here we go. Which are you guys looking more forward to? And I'll see what you guys have to say. Right now, the poll has just 6 votes. And it's 83. Okay, now it's flipped. Trump on Tucker's taken the lead. The debate was winning early. And so far, we've had approximately 50 votes, 87 now. Keeps going back and forth. 102. Trump on Tucker is winning so far. Trump on Tucker is taking the lead. 72-28. That is a massive lead. A massive lead right now. 70-30, basically. We'll let it go for a little bit. I'm sure it'll go up a little bit, go down a little bit. But the bottom line stays the same. A lot of people don't care about the debate because Donald Trump is not there. And you could say, and I said back when Trump was up by 20 and he was saying that he wasn't going to debate, I was saying he should debate at least once. Now things have changed because Donald Trump leads by 41 points. DeSantis is going down there in the single digits. And that's the JV squad. Why is he going to go out there and talk to the JV squad? He's going to be defending his record. Tucker Carlson, Yes, he's on Trump's side, but he asks objective questions. He always presses people. He pressed Trump during his presidency about Kushner, about the riots, you name it. He's always been objective when it comes to his approach to Donald Trump. He butted heads with Trump a little bit, but they're friends now. And I think that that's a pretty decent thing for Trump to do. And I said, if he's not going to debate, he should go on Tucker. And more recently, I've been more inclined to believe that he should go on Tucker instead of debate when he's up by 40 points. You don't need to give legitimacy to the JV squad at this point. And I think it's the smart move. It's like a YouTuber that has, 50,000 subscribers saying he doesn't want to debate somebody that's got 10,000 subscribers that keeps making videos A-logging him about something or making rebuttal videos to like political topics that they're talking about or whatever. And if they don't want to do that, that's completely fine. Why would somebody with 55,000 subs have to feel obligated to debate somebody with 14,000? Now, if you're kind of in the same level of clout, yeah, it's a little bit of a different ball game. You should do it. It'd be, more content. And I think Trump could go out there and easily clear the field on the debate stage. I'm not saying he couldn't. And I talked about this in the last video, which more people need to go watch because apparently didn't hit the same level of the algorithm. But still, what I will say is Donald Trump doing this is smart because he's up by so much and he doesn't like Fox. Fox is run by never Trumpers, never Trump Republicans, neocons. They were on his side during his presidency because they had to be. Then they went back to their 2016 roots. And yeah, there's going to be some commentators there that were pro-Trump, and there were, but a lot of them are gone. A lot of the pro-Trump commentators at Fox have dissipated. And while they may throw him a bone every once in a while regarding the whole nonsensical, bogus indictment trials and try to analyze them a little bit more objectively than the other mainstream media, they are not on our side. They are not on our side whatsoever. And they're an establishment media network. That's why they got rid of Tucker Carlson. Like, who exactly is the best Fox host left at this point? What, are you going to convince me Boomer Hannity's the best when he's talking about how we need to go and invade Russia and take down Putin and all these things being top priorities? Could you imagine if we listened to these people, if they really dictated our foreign policy? It'd be a disaster, total disaster. But of course not. What we know is that Donald Trump will steal the show again. And he could even outrun them in ratings. I don't know exactly where it's going to be on or where it's going to be held, but online he'll try to outrun the debate in terms of ratings. And on top of that, if he prevails in that regard, or even if he comes close to it, just being on a one-man island with Tucker Carlson, that kind of gives him a mandate. Oh, look at me. I'm not even doing anything that's televised. I'm going on alt tech with Tucker Carlson and I'm doing better numbers than the GOP debate is on Fox. Well, look at me. Looks like I have the mandate. Because what it is it's basically a glorified undercard debate. And Donald Trump not giving them any legitimacy just furthers his case. But he's still going to go on Tucker. He's still going to answer all of the same questions, but you're going to have a moderator that's not a hack. They're not setting up a trap for him. And as a result, he'll prevail. And people are going to say, well, his numbers are going to go down because he's not debating. And if that's true and it really impacts him a significant amount, he'll be at the next debate. And he should be if he falls 20 points because of this, but I don't believe he will. I think it was different back in 2016 in Iowa because him and Ted Cruz in Iowa were polling neck and neck. He skipped the debate. Whatever, he didn't get that much traction and it didn't bode too well for him. Not saying he would have been guaranteed victory had he showed up at the debate, but still, him not being there definitely hurt him a little bit, maybe a couple of points in the Iowa caucus. But in terms of what we're seeing here, in terms of the 2024 election, Donald Trump not debating, it probably is not going to really impact him too much. There was a poll that came out that said, I think 6% said it made him more likely to support Donald Trump because he was sitting out, and then 11% said it made it less likely for people to support him. The rest were unmoved, they were unchanged or whatever. And it's possible he could dip a couple of points because let's say if Vivek Ramaswamy has a legendary debate performance, he's rhetorically talented, maybe he could gain some support. But I think it's going to impact a lot of people in this race. And I think that the more time goes by, Trump will just bounce back or whatever. And even if he stays put at 55% throughout the primaries, that's good enough to win. He's at a record high right now, 40.6%. DeSantis, his performance is going to be very telling because DeSantis does not have charisma. He is not somebody that really acts quickly on his feet, and he's going to be pressed from a lot of different angles. And Vivek's going to be attacking him. He'll probably get attacked by people like Tim Scott as well, Nikki Haley, Mike Pence, just because those people, even though they're also never Trump, they're going to try to claim the mantle of second place, the same way that Jeb Bush spent a lot of time and energy attacking Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz in those attack ads back in 2016 in those early states. It didn't really impact the race too much other than maybe inadvertently helping Trump, but that was not the main goal that Jeb Bush and his donors really had in mind when they were doing that. They were just trying to elevate Jeb, and then those donors coalesced behind the other candidates. But it didn't matter because Donald Trump was winning the support of the American people. Ron DeSantis' support has been cut in half in the past 4.5 months. And it's very telling. Twitter's not real life. The influencers are not real life. They're looking at Ron DeSantis. They're looking at Donald Trump. They're comparing him. They're watching DeSantis speak. They're listening to what he has to say. And as a result, they like him less. This is a Ron DeSantis problem above all else. This is not, oh, Donald Trump is like going out there and attacking DeSantis even, which again, his attacks on DeSantis, I'm not going to say that they didn't really move the needle at all because they have to a certain extent, but a lot of DeSantis's fall has come when Trump has kind of been a little bit more quiet on DeSantis and has focused more of his energy attacking Biden. It's because DeSantis is out there showing his true self for what he is. He doesn't have charisma. He talks about issues that a lot of the Republican primary electorate really doesn't care about. And even then, Donald Trump is just as sufficient on a lot of those issues. So they're sticking with Donald Trump. Maybe people like the idea of Ron DeSantis at the first glance, and that's why he saw the rise. They're like, oh, well, there's going to be a guy that's like Trump without the baggage, because we heard that. Oh, the media is not going to know how to attack him. But then the media is attacking him. And the attacks from the right on DeSantis have affected him to a large degree as well. And it just, people are realizing this guy is not Trump at all. He's not even like diet Trump. He's Trump zero, not even that. It's not even Trump at all. Generic brand, whatever, I don't even know. He's getting more comparisons to like a mix of Ted Cruz and Jeb Bush than he is Donald Trump at this point. And it's just because who he's aligned himself with, his donors, the people backing him, and they're falling on deaf ears. Make no mistake. They're not really helping DeSantis. His support base, if anything, has directly caused him to lose half of his support base in terms of the influencers that are out there being his attack dogs. And Ron DeSantis, again, decided to go out there and like act like somebody who is got their back against the wall and understands the walls are closing in. So he's throwing up Hail Marys in an attempt to do something that's going to move the needle. Instead, what he's doing is he's attacking Donald Trump and his supporters the same way that the resist libs, the same way that the left has attacked Donald Trump and his supporters ever since 2015. And he called them listless vessels who just stay on Truth Social all day. And that's like the closest that we have to the basket of deplorables, except unlike basket of deplorables, it's like a little bit harder to understand, I guess, to the average person. What does a listless vessel mean? So we looked up listless vessels over here, and what did we find? Listless means of a person or their manner, lacking energy or enthusiasm. The projection from Ronnie D. Governor DeSantis is off the charts, honestly, and you don't insult the electorate. Donald Trump insulted Ron DeSantis. He didn't insult DeSantis' supporters whatsoever, even though there is subject matter there, at least to the ones on Twitter. But Ron DeSantis is living in a terminally online world, and even then, he doesn't even have the lion's share of right-wing Twitter or conservative Twitter, the electoral side even, on his side. He doesn't. All these influencers they prop up, a lot of them that have hundreds of thousands of followers, have had hundreds of thousands of followers from when they were being shills for Donald Trump. You look at people like Bill Mitchell. Bill Mitchell was, by definition, somebody who would defend every single thing Trump would do, regardless of however incoherent it was. When they like to use the term cultist or whatever, if it would apply to anybody, it would apply to Bill Mitchell. But Bill Mitchell on a dime just flipped and has just been shilling relentlessly for the DeSantis campaign, and it is brutal. And the lengths he goes to, it makes them look awful. And I honestly hope that, like, when Trump wins the primary, these people just stay quiet and shut up and don't come aboard, because they're going to impact our ability to win the election to a certain extent if they come back and they act like this for us, which I don't believe they necessarily are going to be acting like this. They probably will attack people like Biden, of course, but they're not going to be on like the front lines to the same level, and we're not going to let them man the ship, but they're welcome to board the ship. We're not going to let them run crazy like this and do the Bill Mitchell thing, because it doesn't really make us look really all that great. And another line they like to use is the cult line. They're in a cult because you can't reach these people. They know they can't reach these people because they're bad. They suck. Their campaign sucks. They're uninspiring. So because Trump is running on a campaign that is inspiring, lays down a vision for this country, if you support that vision, you're in a cult. If you disagree with us, that in any way, shape, or form, you must be in a cult. That's their tagline. Doesn't work out for them, doesn't exactly help them. And they're using this poll. For the first time this entire cycle, the DeSantis people support a poll's validity. I'm genuinely surprised by that, but hey, it is really just the case here. And DeSantis supporters believe in polls apparently when they show that voters put their faith in Trump compared to some other groups of people. And they're saying it's a cult because people trust Trump more than their friends or family, more than conservative media figures, which a lot of them are establishment. You talk about Fox News, or they also throw in their religious leaders. So apparently you have to put all those people above Trump in terms of what they tell you is true, which again, Trump's not even at 100%. If it was actually a cult, it would be much higher than 71%. But either way, Trump's voters believe that they feel like Trump tells it like it is most of the time. And that's been the way it is. I don't see a problem with that. And a lot of people have liberal family members that they don't trust and don't speak to. So that would make sense why friends and family would be lower than Trump. When it comes to conservative media, we've seen what conservative media has done. A lot of these people in conservative media, at least over the past few years, like Fox, they've been rhinos. They've thrown out actual conservatives like Tucker Carlson. Why exactly should they be trusted? Why should we trust Sean Hannity over Donald Trump? Why should we trust a lot of these weak Republicans over at Fox over Donald Trump? It's more of an indictment, no pun intended, on them than it is on Donald Trump or Trump supporters being in a cult. And as for like the religious leaders thing, they're lower than friends and family. They're lower than conservative media figures. Or does this mean that if you support conservative media over religious leaders that you're in a cult of the conservative media? Like, not exactly, because that disparity is actually wider than the disparity between Trump and friends and family, and it's also the same amount as the disparity between conservative media figures and Trump. But I mean, a lot of people view their religious leaders to be insufficient or heretics. A lot of Catholics despise the current pope. Not all of them do, but a lot of them do, a sizable amount. And a lot of people don't trust religious leaders. That's why you see more Christians becoming non-denominational. So this notion that we have to trust religious leaders instead of putting their faith in the Bible and God, among other things, doesn't exactly prove that you're in a cult if you support or if you believe that somebody else tells the truth more so than your religious leaders, many of which are heretics. You look at the churches you see, especially like Methodists and all these other denominations, they fly Ukrainian flags outside the churches. They fly pride flags outside of churches. It's just a mess. These people are not people that should be trusted, obviously. And yeah, some religious leaders are going to be better than others and more trustworthy than others. Obviously, we know that, but still, this notion that, religious leaders are infallible. No, they're not. Clearly not. They're not God. They're not Christ themselves. They're religious leaders, and many of them are bending the word as we see on a day-to-day basis, especially with the rise of liberal Christianity. So either way, this is not proving that Trump supporters are in a cult. It's more of a testament to how the rest of society is just genuinely as broken as it is. So these people act like they're doing something. They're not doing something. They're trying to bully people into supporting their candidate who's lost half of his support in the past 4.5 months. And they keep doing the same thing, acting like they're doing something that's helping them out. They're not. What are they going to say? The polls are wrong by 40 points? Really? 40 points? You could say maybe 10 points. I'll even say 15 depending on the day, but 40? That's not how it works. And DeSantis is somebody that doesn't have the capability to erase that lead. If you have somebody who's like effective and charismatic and doesn't stab the base in the back and has a pristine record, like maybe if Tucker Carlson was in this race polling at 14 and he somehow was going against Trump, maybe he'd have a shot. But Tucker's smart. He's not dumb. Why is he going to run against Donald Trump? He knows he'd get decked probably. And he understands that the base right now is still with Donald Trump. In 2028, if Trump loses somehow and the general runs again, like, yeah, maybe then obviously he'd be vulnerable. I don't think he'd get through a nomination process at that point. He'd be too old for one. Two, he would have, 2 elections in a row not prevailed, regardless of what may or may not happen. It's not going away. So either way, we're just looking at this and we're saying, yeah, you're not in a cult if you support and you trust the candidate who has probably fulfilled the most promises out of any presidential candidate or president we've had in our lifetimes, even though he's fallen short. But either way, the DeSantis people live in an alternative reality, and it kind of goes to show who the real cultists are. I'm not saying your average person on the street who might vote for DeSantis in a primary is necessarily in a cult, because they're eventually going to vote for Trump in the general in most cases. But the influencer class, they are absolutely in a cult. There's no question about it 100% of the way. So we're 21 minutes in. Let's get to Super Chats. We've got Super Chats already. Let's see. We already have Super Chats. Okay. Yeah, 76-24. I'm going to end the poll, but most people are concerned about, or they're more concerned with what's going to happen with Trump on Tucker than they are, who's going to win the JV squad debate. And a lot of people are probably going to say Vivek, because Vivek knows how to speak. He's better on the issues than most, even if he's not ideal on the issues, especially on an issue like immigration, where he's not really that America first. He's more H-1B first than he is America first. That's an issue I have with him there. On trade, it's not looking good for him. But foreign policy, it is. He has some interesting proposals, but wouldn't support him over Donald Trump. Shane Kina for 5 says, automatically defaulting to Fox News has ruined conservatism for too long. So will defaulting to The Blaze, OAN, Newsmax, Daily Wire, or anything else. Well, you should default here. You should default to alternative media. You should watch Red Eagle Politics. You should watch a lot of other creators that have interesting things to say. Maybe I don't agree 100% with everything that everybody says, but I do believe that when it comes down to it all, there is value in alternative media. There's a lot of value in alternative media. And so many people, I think, are waking up to that fact to a large degree. And that's why you see the rise of even these alt tech platforms, not even the ones that were biggest on, obviously, the ones with the biggest numbers, like Rumble's gaining. We're on Rumble right now. We're live on Rumble, which again, make sure you guys subscribe to the Rumble, even if you prefer watching it on YouTube. I just think it's good to have a backup base, and we definitely have grown some. We have like over 6,000 people on Rumble now, which is pretty cool for an alt-tech platform. Exactly says, I'm more excited for the debate for the memes and entertainment value, not that I take any of them seriously. Trump with Tucker will be good anyways. I think both are equally important, actually. And I prefer to see what Trump has to say. But I also want to see the candidates implode. I want to make fun of them. Like, I probably, in that poll I just put up, I probably would have voted for the debate for that reason, which is why I didn't ask it as a leading question, because if I did, I could have gotten that poll probably flipped. Because, yeah, there is an entertainment factor, and I want to see both, but I just want to see, DeSantis go out there, stammer. I want to see Vivek kind of be Trump's attack dog. I want to see Chris Christie do whatever Chris Christie's going to do, eat everybody. I don't know. It'd be good entertainment value. It's like watching, I don't know, some competitive eating show every time Chris Christie steps on the debate stage. But the DM production says, extremely off topic. What are your thoughts on the Hollywood strike? I don't really have a lot of thoughts on that. If you're talking about the writers' strike, it's like writers are mad they're not getting paid enough. It's like, how much do they get paid already? Probably a significant amount. So it just is what it just is what it is. Jay Coulter says, Trump is also the only person who has been president. We don't need to see him crush the souls of Pence and DeSantis and Haley. Well, I mean, that is also true that he's like the incumbent, and I think that's another reason why he's not going to debate. But, like, it's true. Trump would bring the ratings. If Trump debated, he would give Fox a gift. I don't think he really wants to do that. I think it would be legendary entertainment. I would not have a problem with Trump doing that. I wanted him to debate for the longest time, but that was back when he was up by, I don't know, like 25 points instead of 40 points. So I understand why he wouldn't do it. Either way, it's not something I care too much about. But the fact that he's going on Tucker, like, that incentivizes me to not want him to debate. And it's also just more content to analyze too. Shane Keena says, nobody is safe. Everything's on the table. We need to respect a diversity of tactics. Next stop, Joe Rogan. Final stop, the whole podcasting world. Are you talking about Trump exactly? Are you talking about him going on all these shows? Either way, I would like to have as many people in as many places as possible. That's how we take back this country. You have to have people taking back the institutions because we've lost them. The left did their long march through the institutions, all from the early 1900s all the way to the 2000s. They still do it today. The left has total control. We don't have any cultural pull, power, you name it. Well, we're going to talk about that in a minute, but either way, it is true. The institutions definitely matter. That's what controls the culture. And if you don't have institutional control, and there is like this conservative dream that we see a lot of people talk about, homesteading, move to the middle of nowhere. It's like, that's, okay. Like, I understand why some people would like to live that lifestyle. It is traditional to a certain extent, but you're not going to, that's like ceding defeat to a certain degree. If you can take back the institutions, take back the institutions. I'm not going to tell people move to like New York or California, but, you have people that are capable, that could do certain things, that have roles laid out for them in society, and if they don't exactly take that because, it's like a liberal thing or whatever, this is a reason why it's a liberal thing. We're losing the control of society. We've lost it all, and we're never going to get it back if we have that mindset that like, that's like the main goal, the only thing we can do. Which, again, I'm not saying people can't do that. I'm not saying people can't even do both, because I think it's possible, but either way, I do think we have to fight, and you have to get in the trenches and play dirty a little bit. Cameron Campbell says, I don't want anything to happen to Trump, but if something does happen to him, who would be your number two? I don't know. I really have no idea, honestly. I'm not a fan of DeSantis at this point. I mean, I probably a year or two ago would have said DeSantis if Trump didn't run, but because of how he's handled his campaign and as incompetent as it's been, and the vitriol they have for a lot of Trump's base, there's just no way that I'd say he'd be number two. I like some things that Vivek has to say. I think a lot of people in chat are probably saying Vivek right now. But again, the immigration thing, which maybe he can change his mind on because he seems a little bit more open to dialogue. But then there's always the 2% chance that he's controlled, I guess, is to some degree controlled opposition, which I don't even know if that's true, because he doesn't want to shut down the immigration debate, but he definitely is somebody that wants to increase the amount of immigration, which again would doom the country electorally and financially, among other things. But Security TV Says, is it just me being crazy, or is Hannity a CIA plant? He's always going on about promoting the FISA court. I don't know. All I know is all he does is just shill for whoever is popular in the Republican side. He was a big shill for Bush and Romney, McCain, and then when Trump came along, Trump's presidency, he was a big, Trump backer. He defended Trump for everything. But now that Trump's a little, I wouldn't say he's even out of the picture, but just the policies of Trump are out of the picture. 2 years after he's not in power anymore, what exactly happens? Oh, well, he's talking about invading Russia. Like that's even a lot of people that are sympathetic to Ukraine aid don't even talk about invading Russia. So he's just going full insanity regarding that, and he's sitting there with Lindsey Graham every single night. It's like, no, it's not a good look. It's not a good look. He's not even pushing back. Trump, at least, I don't like him campaigning with Graham, but he's like rebuked elements of Graham to Graham's face. He never did that during his presidency. So kind of tells you the difference there for the people that are going to try to like point out the hypocrisy or whatever. The DM Production says, I don't think any of these people will be future nominees. My dream president after Trump is Vance. All these candidates will go down in history as losers. Yeah, I don't see anyone with the it factor. I just don't see anyone that I can look at them and say, okay, this guy's got it. This guy's got what it takes. And Vance, I think, is somebody that has a lot of potential. I mean, I'd really like to see him. He'd be up there on my 2028 shortlist. I don't know. I always talk about who's going to be in the running. Vance, Hawley, maybe that Tucker Carlson wild card. I'd love to see that. I think he could have that it factor. I don't think anybody on this stage that we're going to see has the it factor. And I'm saying that because Trump is not going to be on that stage. So Mr. Jimmy says, who should Trump replace when Thomas and Alito retire? If they retire under Trump's tenure, if Trump gets another term, that's brutal. I don't know. He'd have to find people that are more in the mold of them than are in the mold of the people that he put on the court, because they're a little wishy-washy. So Christopher Laurie says, liberal Christianity is such a heretical problem. I think we should bring back the Inquisition. Separation of church and state is in a way a trick from Satan. Well, there's no separation of church and state. That's a myth. And the left likes to use that to promote things such as getting rid of prayer in school, replacing the de facto religion of this country from Christianity and Christian moral law to secular humanism, which is brutal. Separation of church and state is not going to, if you institute a integration of church and state, it's not going to solve the problems. You're not going to get like this theocracy utopia. You look at the UK. The UK doesn't have separation of church and state. The UK is more liberal than the US is. I think that we need to revise some of what we've interpreted the Constitution to be, because these activist judges, the Warren Court, you saw these cases like, I believe it's Engel v. Vital, that ruled out prayer in schools. We don't have prayer in schools. We had prayer in schools for how long did we have prayer in schools? We had it for centuries, actually. This was something that was supported and promoted by the founding fathers, even the ones that the left claims are not Christian, the ones that they claim are deists, which, again, we could debate that. But still, either way, you're looking at this and it's like, we have a spiritual problem, and we talk about you can't legislate morality. We've been legislating morality for decades. It's been the wrong morality. We've been legislating immorality under the guise of liberty, and that's not something that we should be doing. And you look at all the problems in society, a lot of them can be traced directly back to the fact that we have been just for years and years on end promoting godlessness, among other things, and we need to do everything that we possibly can do to kind of, in my opinion, get back to a sound moral ground, and we're not on that right now, which is an issue. Literally, God says Daniel Cameron will win Kentucky by 2. I hope. I mean, it's possible. I just don't feel very, confident right now, and maybe if we see some more polls, we could talk about that or whatever, but I mean, as of right now, I just really can't see it. So let's see. Cameron Campbell says, any collabs with other creators? I don't have any at the moment. I mean, I'd be open to it. We'll see. John Waffle H2P says, I'm nervous for the distant future. I'm terrified of a Whitmer presidency. Well, Whitmer, I don't even know if Whitmer would get the nomination. She'd be a disaster, in my opinion. And she'll be on that short list for 2028 for the Dems. They don't have a bench this time. And honestly, Newsom, you could have made the case that he could have pulled a DeSantis because people probably are whispering in his ear, if you don't challenge Biden and take on Biden, you're not going to have a shot in 28. The same way they told DeSantis, you could beat Trump, but you can't win in 2028. Your time is now, which I think both of them are lies. But either way, Gavin Newsom's not going to run for president in 2024, most likely. But you have that bench. It will have people like Whitmer. Yes, Newsom will be on there. John Ossoff, Josh Shapiro out of Pennsylvania. There are a couple of others. Kamala Harris, I'm sure, is going to run, probably get shellacked in the primary, even though she's been vice president. So, yeah, Whitmer is a disaster. I think we can win in 2028. Even if we lose in 2024, I think we would win in 2028, actually. But we can win in 2024 and 2028. It just really depends. I don't believe there's going to be this whole party fatigue, especially if you have this like switch up of the nominee after 4 years of Donald Trump, because he will be the nominee. And I think he can win the general. Everyone, and we'll talk about that too before we talk about the Elon stuff, but we have a few more super chats I want to get to first. Gregory Lamb says, what does it matter if it's R-worded? Because it's not. And I'm not saying it's not skewed. I'm not saying there's not problems, but this notion that it's like fixed and you can't win is bullshit. And we saw that in many places in 2022 and even in 2020 in some places. You can beat the left. You have to beat the left at their own game. The way the Republicans play, they lie down and they take it. They don't beat the left at their own game. So it does play a role. In terms of what we can do. It's not like, oh, regardless of whatever we do, we're still going to come up short. That's not how it works. It's not. So this is 2020 was a very problematic election for various reasons. And a lot of it didn't even stem from what took place at the ballot box, more so what we find out that you had the own government of this country, the FBI colluding with big tech, social media, trying to go out there and censor certain stories about about Joe Biden that made Biden look bad, promoting stories about Trump that were fake, that made Trump look bad. It's crazy. It's insanity. Base Cato with the member chat says you should change your live stream days to Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. I personally prefer Sunday because I don't know who wants to sit here on a Saturday night and watch a live stream, which is no testament to my streams not being sufficient for people to watch them, but it's just people would rather go out there and hang out and do fun stuff on Saturday nights besides watch live streams. But like Monday, Wednesday, I mean, that's fine. We're not going to stream on Tuesday. We're going to stream on Wednesday this week, actually, because we're not going to be streaming the day before the debate and the day of the debate and the day after the debate. We're going to be streaming the day of the debate /forum, after the debate /forum. And it might be a late stream, but you guys are going to be there because everyone's going to be tuned in. They're going to want to see what's been going on. The DM production says, Vance appeals to me as a man. Men are disenfranchised, which is true. And this is something that I've said on many streams now. The Republican Party does not tap into regarding the Generation Z, the Zoomer generation. But it's true. Porn addiction is rampant. Feminism is on the rise. There are more male suicides than ever. Vance is the only candidate that caters to that demographic. We hear so much from the left about women. Abortion, women's rights, whatever they like to frame it as, because they're packaging something evil and grotesque as something that's like got, bows, like their presents with like roses or whatever. It's a disaster. But you're not allowed to appeal to men in any way, shape, or form. If you're on the right, what does the right try to do? Oh, we're going to go after the suburban women. Why don't they go after suburban men or white working class men ever? Because they're just as important. Their political participation rate's actually lower. And maybe if you did that, you'd actually get more young men or just men in general turning out, because we hear, oh, we have to use the left's identity politics, do a diet edition of it. And it doesn't work. It never works. There's nothing that's packaged for young men or men in general. It's always women. It's always what do you have to do for the minority vote? And you don't even get the minority vote, but they don't do anything for the white working class. Trump was the only one that really ever kind of touched into that back in 2016, and I think he's doing it again, which is good. But you have a lot of modern problems, and I mean, as good as Trump is on some issues, he doesn't exactly touch base on the modern issues, and neither does really anybody else running in this field. But you look at people like Vance, they do touch base on that from time to time. Tucker Carlson touches base on that. Josh Hawley touches base on that. So yeah, I think that there are a lot of issues that do matter a lot to young people, mainly young men, that they care about, that they don't really vote one way or another, but there's this disaffected element to it. And it is a major, major issue for Republicans, and they could win. They could capitalize on it. It would help them, but they don't do it. It's kind of sad, but let's see. Cameron Campbell for $9.99 says, I don't mean to get religious, but we are in the days that Daniel and Revelations prophesied about. We just need to stay strong and keep our faith. God will win in the end. Well, it's true. Romans 8:31, I believe, is the verse. If God is with us, who can be against us? Or something in that variation. That's true. So we'll get to the rest of the Super Chats. We're 40 minutes in. I'm not forgetting about them. Feel free to keep sending them in. We'll get to them later after we do this next segment. Today in Stupidity. We're trying to make this a thing. I don't know if it's going to be a thing, but we talk about the cultural takeover that we see in our society to a large degree. And a lot of it is something that we like talk about happening in the future. But even though that's true, we've kind of seen small victories lately. I think Elon buying Twitter is one of them, because you have somebody who at least is sympathetic to some of our ideals that owns a major, major social network platform and is somebody that's kind of leading the way in that regard to liberate the internet again. Even like other platforms have started to kind of slowly change their TOS on certain things. Either way, I think it's a good thing that Elon owns X now, which again, I was not a fan of that whatsoever. Why are you going to change something so iconic as Twitter to X? But that's not the main issue I have at this point with Elon purchasing Twitter, because it was for the longest time. I like the verification badge thing. The X thing is like not something I'm a fan of, but it's like something I can live with. He wants to remove the block feature, which doesn't make any sense. So there are people that harass people. There are people that will spam replies. There are people that will do all kinds of things, enter DMs, which he's leaving that in. Obviously, he's going to say you can block people from DMing, but still, you get a lot of grotesque things. People can spam your replies with grotesque things, spam your DMs, and you're not able to block these people. What's the point? Because we talk about the public square, and this low IQ person in the replies decided to go off and say, you can't block ideas in real life. If it's going to be a free speech platform, it has to be a town square. Well, first of all, you can block ideas in real life. You could not talk to people, not go to certain places. And on top of that, Elon's not unbanning certain people. He says he's going to keep people like Alex Jones banned. He only unbanned Trump at the time, I believe, because he won a poll. So it's not a free speech platform. It's better than what it was, but it's not open source. And there's a lot of people that are banned for a lot of different things, and they probably would not be banned if it was a free speech platform, which would basically say there's no such thing as hate speech because constitutionally there's not. And if you break the law, then you'll be punished, obviously. But if you just say something unpopular or offensive to some people, you're going to be able to have your account. And I think the block feature is the best mitigation to see things that you don't want to see, or to not see things you don't want to see whatsoever. But taking off the block feature is not something that I believe I would ever support. And I even came around slightly to the X thing. I'm not saying I came around entirety. I think it was still dumb. I'm not saying you can't rebrand the logo or anything like that, but this notion that you're going to rename the thing to X instead of Twitter When Twitter's been so iconic, it's not something that I would really support. I know X is like Elon's thing. He has SpaceX. He named his kid X and then a bunch of numbers and letters after it for whatever reason, but the kid goes by X, which again, that's like not the strangest thing for somebody to go by. Some people were named like Xavier, they go by X or whatever, but that's beside the point. The bottom line is we're in the midst of potentially turning the corner. You have more free speech on social media. 2 of the 4 number 1 songs over the past month have been inherently right-wing anthems, and that's true. And on top of that, the boycotts on the right somehow have actually worked to some extent. You see, for the most part, the June celebrations for the alphabet stuff were not as bad as they were in years past. I think it was the tamest year since like 2018 on that front. So that's all good. Baby steps are important. Obviously, I'm glad we have social media back to some degree, but still, if you're gonna like say that you can't block certain people or whatever because that's gonna like impact free speech, that's not how it works. It's really not. They can have free speech. You're just blocking them. And if that's done under the guise of free speech, which I don't even believe it is, then why are some people still banned from Twitter for breaking the terms of service for things that are still covered legally under free speech? This is what I don't understand with this whole ordeal. I think it's a very dumb business move. And another thing I want to touch base on is the people that say Trump can't win. He's going to go down regardless. I'm not going to promise people Trump's going to go out there in 2024 and win. I'd like for him to. It would be the greatest ending you could possibly write. But still, Trump is not in a position where he's going to get his ass handed to him. And people that are saying that don't have anything to back it up other than my feelings. And I'd like to, debate people on this topic. I debated somebody on Trump DeSantis on a Twitter space a few days ago. I'd like to debate some more prominent people as well, some of the more prominent dissents, but they don't want to do it. They don't want to have this discussion. And if they do, it's going to be in a Twitter space they host and nobody else hosts, and they can just mute people whenever they want and talk over them when they're losing the debate, as we've seen on multiple occasions. But nevertheless, here we go. Trump's favorables are higher than they were in 2016 when Donald Trump won, despite the fact that he had a divided party at the moment. And obviously, you could say it was divided in 2016. During the primaries, Trump's approval before 2016 was like in the 20s, maybe the low 30s. He got more people on board as he got closer to the election, as more Republicans came home. And they're higher now than they were on the day of the 2016 election, and it's possible that they will grow even higher. It has not tanked despite the bogus indictments, and I believe when he wins the primary, he'll be in the 40s again. That's how it works. Biden's favorables are lower than Hillary Clinton's. We heard Hillary's the worst candidate, so Trump's win in 2016 doesn't count from these people. What? Really? Hillary had a lot going for her. She had big money. She had the entire establishment. She had the woman card, which she played, and she sent a letter to every woman in the entire country trying to get them to vote for her. Even people that I know in my family that voted for Trump got the same letter. But either way, we know that she had a lot working for her, and still she wasn't liked. She had scandals, but her numbers were higher than Trump's. Trump just won the undecideds. So don't let them retcon history, but Biden's favorables right now are lower than Hillary's were, despite him being the face of his party, despite being virtually guaranteed the nomination. Now, a lot of people, and this is like a side thing that I'm going to say, but they're saying, well, Trump not debating means that Biden's not going to debate because it's like some sort of precedent he's setting. But Biden's not debating in his primary despite being up by the same margin. So it doesn't matter. But either way, he's got the party behind him as much as it will be, and maybe his numbers will go up a point after the convention, whatever, doesn't matter. DeSantis, on the other hand, his approval rating is 36% nationwide, and that's down 7 points from what it was back in December of last year. And the more people get to know him, the more they dislike him. And he's not even really being attacked from the center in terms of attacking him to the right. That Biden will automatically guarantee without a doubt do if DeSantis got the nomination, which he's not going to get. On top of that, you're likely going to see a very high third-party vote share compared to 2020. It'll be more in line with 2016 because people don't like both candidates. It's not going to be maybe as high, maybe 3 to 4%. Depends on no labels. Are they going to get Manchin on the ticket? Are they going to get, I mean, obviously West is going to be Cornel West, not Kanye, on the Green Party ticket. So you're looking at that, and that's going to help Trump in a state like Georgia or Arizona or even Michigan keep that relatively competitive. Although the state party of Michigan's not going to help the Republicans out whatsoever. They're going to have to win despite it. But people are going to believe without any evidence, any shred of evidence, that Biden's going to destroy Trump by a landslide and that DeSantis would go out there and beat Biden. And even though you could say primary electorates are different than the general election, DeSantis has lost half of his support in the primary over the past 4.5 months. His campaign is all over the place. He's trying to attack Trump from the right, which is going to be used against him in a general. And it's like, do you really think this guy's going anywhere? Ted Cruz would have probably lost to Hillary because he was unlikable, but his campaign was more competently run than this shit show. But somehow I'm supposed to believe Trump can't win. DeSantis gives us a chance to win and the best chance to win the election. I don't see it at all, like ever. How? What's the justification? He's down in the poll. The head-to-head polls show DeSantis trailing Biden by more than Trump is trailing Biden, or some cases they have Trump tied or ahead of Biden. And DeSantis is going to have to do a lot better in the popular vote with the coalitions he has to win the general election or the electoral college against Biden. So again, their arguments fall flat. All of their arguments fall flat. The 2022 arguments fall flat. The whole indictment arguments aren't even sticking right now. They're in the media now more than they likely will remain in the media because that's all media's been talking about are the indictments. Trump's still polling well. He hasn't really lost any support. I think he's lost a point or so in the head-to-head since his first indictment. And it's still not enough. And he has been out of the media for a while. He hasn't really had the ability to defend himself. And yeah, there's some things Trump can do better, obviously. I'm not saying that everything he does is going to be ideal or perfect or whatever regarding messaging, but it's a lot better than it was 2-3 years ago. It's a lot better than it was in 2020. So it's a lot better than DeSantis's too. So is what it is. Mr. Jimmy says, if we lose 2024, what's the plan moving forward? I don't know. I think that we'll probably take the Senate, possibly keep the House, and it's just going to be the same thing we're doing right now, except there's going to be a different candidate we're going to be talking about. Based Cato says, how's the rep cat been? He's been good. Technically not my cat, but the cat of the current House. Alex P. says, at this point, I hate electabros more than Dems. Well, I interact with them more, so obviously I would say that the electabros are more insufferable. And because they claim to be on your side, but they have the same talking points. They act the same way. And it's like, do you really expect me to really view these people any differently than the Dems? I personally don't think so because they act the same. They behave the same. They push the same talking points through, and they fall on deaf ears to most people that are actually paying attention. Shout out to Brandon Barajas for the 10. Thank you for the super chat. Manny for 5 says, have you heard of this year's Argentinian election? Milei, a Trump admirer, is leading the polls after his primary win. He's like a Ron Paul on policy. Well, Argentina and some of those South American countries like Chile in particular, they tend to be very right-wing economically speaking, so it would make sense why their more populist candidates are more in line with somebody like Ron Paul than somebody like a, European right-wing populist, so to speak, that tends to be a little bit more left-leaning economically. But yeah, I've heard of it, and I think it's a good thing. And it seems like right-wing populism is surging everywhere. And even if we've fallen short in places like here in 2022, we're controlling the party in the primary. And we just need more institutional backing. And if we had that, we would have seen more wins in 2022. You would have seen Laxalt win, probably Walker win. I wouldn't say that Walker's necessarily a populist, so to speak, but You would have had more outsiders win if they had more funding, and that'd be a net positive, but we didn't exactly have that. But either way, I think that we're going to win the war, even if we're losing some of these battles here and there. And we are shaping. They're on the back foot, so much so to the establishment. Even a lot of the establishment candidates are behaving like the Tea Party did back in 2010 in many ways. Not all the ways, but many ways. So we're winning. We're controlling the narrative in the long run, but we have a lot of room to grow, and that's true. Cameron Campbell says Gen Z men are becoming conservative. We're not investing in that demographic at all. Yeah, if there's any group that I don't know, as an interest group that defends men in any way, shape, or form, for some reason they just get labeled incels or whatever term they're going to throw out there. But it's true. Young men are disaffected, and there needs to be policy that will get these people out there and voting, and they're really not. It doesn't really matter what side people claim they're not voting. They're not really into politics. Those that are tend to be a little bit more conservative than not, although the women of Generation Z are super liberal compared to women of other generations, especially compared to men of Generation Z. Let's see. Gregory Lamb for $20 says my pizza gets more expensive. Last thing I need is a $20 Biden pepperoni. Well, either way, despite inflation, at least it's impacting the channel in a positive way with the 20. So thank you. Real Texan Politics is Bill Mitchell going from defending Trump 100% of the time to possibly voting for Joe Biden next year is mind-boggling to me. How did that happen? Because Bill Mitchell is somebody that I consider to be a professional dick rider. Excuse the language. But you look at what he was doing for Trump and then look what he's doing for DeSantis. It's the same thing. He's just it doesn't matter. He'll go to any length to defend any little thing that they've done, even if he has to lie, even if he has to stand on zero principle whatsoever. He defended the bump stock ban during Trump's presidency. Now will attack Trump for being a fake conservative and acting like he never supported him ever. So that's what it is all about. It's just the guy is a clown, and he needs to just be tuned out. All these people on the DeSantis side, they point to people like Laura Loomer as being crazy or something, but then you look at how they act on a day-to-day basis. These people are genuinely mentally insane. The things that they do on the timeline, the fact they believe DeSantis is a shot to win is just delusional in and of itself. So Zachary Joello says, did you hear what Ronna McDaniel said on Fox News? If this is about the debate, maybe, I don't know what she exactly said on Fox, but either way, she's 7 people are qualifying or something. I don't know to what extent that's true or to what extent it's not, but Jersey Wraith says, numerically speaking, if the GOP peels off just 15% of the black vote, the Dems never win a general election again. Why not go for the black vote? Because A, it's immovable. I'm not saying you can't welcome different people to the party. Obviously, we do. But this notion that, we're going to go out there and put all this diet, leftist criminal justice policy on the table, which Trump did, and I will critique him for that. And a lot of it's the Kushner issue. But nevertheless, he put a lot of time and energy into that, and what did he get? 2 to 3% more of the black vote? And the policies literally hurt black people too, ironically enough, because the people that are released from prison in many cases were violent criminals, and many of which reoffended, and you know who their victims are. So either way, it's kind of pointless to go and target a demographic that statistically just opposes a lot of your policy. And maybe you'll peel off some naturally if you just try to appeal to, 2 to 3% of the white working class demographic, because that demographic is 40-some% of the electorate. And on top of that, that is movable, and you can peel that off, and it will get you the same, if not a greater return than 15% of the black vote. So that's the way I see it. It is what it is. The photo in the story says, here's $2 for your Trump grift. Well, thank you. Because apparently I'm such an evil grifter because I haven't changed who I support for the presidential election. I don't know if that super chat is sent ironically or not, but either way, it is true that you have a lot of people that are like, oh, you're a grifter if you support Trump. But it's first of all, we've lost 5,000 to 6,000 people on this channel just for attacking DeSantis and giving him light criticism, by the way. It wasn't even like major criticism we were throwing his way until recently when everybody started to realize that it was warranted. But like the people that are grifters, I think you got to look at the Bill Mitchells, because these are people that were shilling for Trump, almost grifting for Trump, and then turned on a dime for the $200 million sinking ship. And now Twitter is paying money to more ad revenue and placing more ads on the DeSantis people stuff than they are on the Trump commentator stuff, which that's real too, by the way. So you're talking about the grifters. They're the ones getting paid thousands of dollars just to shill for Elon's preferred candidate. That's what it is. So that's the way I see it. I think the grifters are the people that are running for president that have zero shot. I think they're the grifters as well. You have people that are in this race for a book deal, people that are in this race for a $200 million sinking ship. In the case of Ron DeSantis, a $100 million plus sinking ship in the case of Tim Scott. And of course, the establishment is delusional to think they may have a shot to knock off Trump, but they don't have a chance in hell. And now we've proven that. And it's not over yet. I'm not saying that, Trump just has to sit back there and kick his feet up and just coast until the middle of next year. I think he should be out there. He should be campaigning. Iron sharpens iron for sure. Although regarding these candidates that are running, it's not iron sharpening iron. It's like, canvas trying to sharpen iron, but getting slashed in the process. Let's see. Real Texan Politics says, don't forget the amount of dissents that believe the obvious bait that is Ron polling only because they have their golden boy up by a landslide. So for those who don't know, there's a Twitter account called Ron Polling, and it's fake polls, and they all show DeSantis winning by like 50 points. And the DeSantis people are shilling these polls, but they're not real. It's like they live in their own fantasy land. You're telling me the Trump people are a cult when this is what you are doing exactly? Yeah, it doesn't work that way. Real Texan Politics is also any predictions for Wednesday's debate. Here's my prediction. DeSantis may fall into third place. If he performs better than the expected robotic DeSantis and he does actually get a few good retorts in there, which I don't see happening, but let's say it does, on the off chance it does, he'll stay stagnant. If not, there's a chance Vivek could pass him. Tim Scott, if he performs well, could pass him in Iowa. Again, this is a debate for second place. This is a second place debate. And DeSantis can barely hold on to second place at this point when there was a chance he could have had first place for a while. It's honestly sad, but I can't say I feel bad for him given the people that he surrounded himself with and the people that he's aligned with in terms of giving them campaign power and intentionally using just anything he can to divide the party. BNDR News says, started doing election predictions, please. Everyone, BNDR News. I'm coming from a British perspective on the 2024 race. I don't usually give shout-outs to people, but if they want to super chat in shout-outs, I will give them. So, let's see. Besides that, we don't have any more super chats. You guys want to send in any more, you guys can. We could look at regular chat as well in the meantime, but we'll probably end it in a few minutes. But if you guys want to send in more super chats, feel free. This is kind of a last call. I won't exactly hold you to it, but we have another one popping up right now. Gregory Lamb says, for 10, DeSantis is who he is. Stay governor, let it ride. Elites are getting in the way, and as they have for centuries, open your mind and don't let the mockingbird media rule your mind. Well, DeSantis is somebody that I think would have had a higher chance in 2028 than he has now, because a lot of people would have him probably as the front runner then. Nobody in their right mind ever really had him as the front runner now. So the people that are out there saying he had to run, now's the time, he'll be irrelevant by then. How would he be irrelevant? He could do great things for the next 4 years in Florida. He could get a personality coach. He could learn how to have some charisma. His more establishment record in Congress would be even more in the rearview mirror, and he could prove that he's exactly changed, and he could have really positioned himself for a 2028 victory. But what has he done? He's done everything but that. He's divided the party. He showed his rear end for what it is, and he's not going anywhere. So there you go. Base Cato says, make Cenk emoji great again. We're not going to bring back the Cenk emoji. Cenk is irrelevant. I haven't really heard anything from Chunk Yogurt himself over the past couple of years or so. Someone in chat says you can't learn charisma. You can fake it to a certain extent. DeSantis is like an immovable object out there. He can learn a little bit. If he's been trying and he still hasn't gotten anywhere with it, then maybe you're right. But I really feel like if you put a little time and energy in to the charismatic game and do whatever you can do, you can gain some charisma, you could gain some confidence, you could gain a lot. But I don't know. Let's see. Let's see. This guy says if Trump wants a significant portion of the black vote, he needs to go to Breakfast Club hotboxing with Mike Tyson and get Byron Donalds as VP. I don't know if Byron Donalds is going to move the black vote. I'd be open to him as VP because I think he would be great on the ticket. He's liked by pretty much all wings of the party. But then you have the Florida issue, which kind of is going to limit that from happening. But I don't think they'd let him on the Breakfast Club. I don't know if it would really move the needle a lot if he went on at all. Maybe 1% if he like did the whole rounds of all those shows. But they won't even let him on those shows anymore. The Mike Tyson thing, he could get on the Mike Tyson thing because him and Mike Tyson have been on good terms. Tyson, I think, endorsed Trump every time he's ran, maybe this time too. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to move the needle. I've never even heard about Mike Tyson's podcast. So Christopher Laurie says, if Trump wins with the GOP-controlled Congress, do you think he could accomplish more without the frauds in 2017 like Paul Ryan? I think it's entirely possible that he'll do a lot better with McCarthy there, despite McCarthy not being that good on his own. It's just that Paul Ryan set a bar that was so astronomically low that pretty much anybody's going to be better, even if you have a more razor-thin majority in Congress. Like, yeah, something with healthcare probably could be a lot more accomplished. And the Senate, I think, is something people aren't talking about, but you could see 52, 53 seats in there. That's also something that's plausible. Mr. Jimmy says, DeSantis making himself unelectable by talking? Yeah, easily. I mean, if DeSantis was somebody that people didn't get really acquainted with, I think he'd be polling higher than he is now. But because you have this AstroTurf campaign for him, and then he's out there in his high heels, just going out there and stammering on about nonsense most people don't understand, it's not going to help him. Danid Fan 101 says, thoughts on DeSantis having Asperger's rumors? He's awkward. I'm not going to say everyone that's awkward has to be diagnosed with some disease or whatever. First of all, I'm not a doctor. Second of all, I think that those labels shouldn't be thrown around like that like crazy. But either way, he's awkward. I will say that. He is awkward. He's somebody that doesn't have charisma. And when you're a politician, I mean, to be fair, a lot of politicians like congressmen don't have any charisma. Even some of the congressmen that I like. But either way, when you get to the national stage and you're just like, well, as governor, I did this thing, I did that thing, Florida's where woke goes to die, haha. It's like, this is not even like a soundbite you could pass off as, oh, look at this guy's doing something great. And you could say, well, what about Biden? It's like, we trash Biden for being goofy and like being brain dead, but at the same time, Biden has an ounce of charm to him to some degree, whether people want to admit it or not. And he is an awful individual, in my opinion. He is probably the worst president that we've seen in this nation for decades upon decades. But still, hey, what can I say? He's still the guy to a large degree. Okay. Now, I think that we're done with super chats for the night. I think we're done with super chats. But it's like either way, even if you want to say Biden doesn't have charm or charisma, he has a massive turnout operation we don't have. He's got a lot going for him. And he doesn't need enthusiasm to win. We saw that. So, we're going to need to counteract that. DeSantis is not getting out those votes. He's not flipping independents or moderates whatsoever. When they hear about Social Security, Medicaid, and they hear about the 6-week abortion ban, which again, I support the 6-week abortion ban. It's the right thing to do. But when all these moderates and independent voters hear about it, and they don't even want a 15-week ban, what makes you think that they're going to vote for Ron DeSantis? He's going to have a hard time pivoting on that issue. Whereas Trump, even though Trump has been the most pro-life president in the past century, it seems, at least Donald Trump doesn't really make that an issue as a wedge issue as much as it could be at the national level, because Trump kind of plays to both sides rhetorically on it. So Security TV says, I'm a Catholic in Virginia. We've lost 50% of our congregation to the Orthodox Church because they're going head on against LGBT. And yeah, the Orthodox Church, and you look at the countries, and this isn't to dunk on Catholics, all Catholics per se, but one thing that is true, you look at the countries in Europe that are Catholic, and then you compare them to the countries in Europe that are Orthodox. The countries that are Orthodox are far, far more socially conservative, and they're better on immigration. Their policies all across the board are better than the countries that are Catholic, like France, like Italy, and yeah, technically the Catholic countries are better in those regards than like the UK, which is Protestant or whatever. But still, either way, another Orthodox victory there. It's true. Like, without a doubt, you're looking at that. The Orthodox have always been strict when it comes to the biblical law and those traditions. It's so much so to the point where they celebrate Easter a month later because they stick to the old calendar. And on top of that, well, you look at what's going on with the countries that are majority Orthodox. Yeah, Poland's Catholic, Hungary's. I didn't say there are not exceptions. I didn't say they weren't. They didn't have exceptions. I think that I also think the Eastern Catholic churches are far preferable to the Roman Catholic churches personally. But either way, the Orthodox church attendances are on the rise. It's like a new era, the Orthodox era. The stock is rising significantly. Significantly. Not just you have the Eastern Orthodox churches, you also have the Oriental Orthodox churches, including the Armenian church as well, that is the first national church in history, the first Christian nation. The Ethiopians like to say they were first. They were not first. Not we as Americans, but the Armenians were first. So there's that. But either way, any more chats, any more super chats mentioned? Let's see. Okay. Doesn't seem like there are. Let's see. It seems like everybody's on good terms with the Orthodox. Even people that aren't Orthodox, the Protestants are on good terms with the Orthodox for the most part. The Catholics are on good terms with the Orthodox. Thoughts on Rishi Sunak? Well, either way, the UK is screwed. That whole party is a disaster. Ever since Boris's big victory in 2019, it's been like L after L after L. So, let's see. All right, Ben Shapiro's on DeSantis' pay. Well, yeah, I think there is some... Well, I mean, either way, I think he makes enough money not from Ron DeSantis. I don't think that's why he supports DeSantis, but they have been paying the Daily Wire for quite some time. From what I've heard, allegedly, they've allegedly been paying the Daily Wire to promote certain stories. And like I said, I've said for years, even back to 2021, be careful with this guy. You know, they're going to try to prop him up over Trump. And all the worst nightmares and the worst case scenarios for DeSantis that we talked about, they've come true. So, Michael Lochner said, I mean, Catholics and Orthodox are... Well, technically, no. The Orthodox can get communion at the Catholic Church, although there are some Catholics that will say that that's wrong, and they don't prefer that. I guess it just depends on the church. But the Orthodox they don't let non-Orthodox have their communions, to my knowledge, at least, from what I've seen. So, it's like a one-way street. Michael Knowles is the only... Yeah, Michael Knowles is a good host at the Daily Wire. He usually doesn't miss on a lot of things, and he has supported Trump. But you have Walsh. Even though Walsh tries to pass himself off as ultra-conservative, you look into where he stands in the Trump-DeSantis debacle, not exactly in the best position. He's more of like one of those Cruz 2016 guys. He was trashing Trump a lot up until the general election in 2016, and Shapiro didn't even vote for Trump in 2016. He left the presidential ballot blank. which, again, there's no excuse for that. You're basically approving Hillary Clinton becoming president. And anybody that claims to do that this time around, they're approving Biden becoming president. Let's see. I think we're going to end the stream. We've been going for 75 minutes, and I will see you guys next time. We're probably going to drop a video either tomorrow or the next day. I don't know what it's going to be on, and then Wednesday night we'll stream. So we'll stream Wednesday, no stream Tuesday, no stream Thursday. I'll see you guys next time. Like the stream before you go, by the way. Let's get it to 400. And it's been real, guys. Red Eagle out.